A village in the mountains has been attacked by a rank S Fenrir, so the townspeople have spent all their savings to hire a rank SS team to defeat it. The team members are some of the strongest adventurers in the world, each with their own strengths. Then there is Kurt, and he only knows how to do chores, so he hides behind a wall to avoid getting hurt. However, the boy is the first person the Fenrir attack, so he is sent away, and the rest of the party prepares for battle. The team leader orders Bandana to bind the Fenrir, so she pulls out the wire and immobilizes it, but the wolf slams her into a wall. Luckily, Marlefis heals her teammate in seconds, and she gets back to work. Bandana uses a tree to anchor herself to the ground, giving Golnova a chance to aim her flaming magic sword at the wolf's head. The villagers are so pleased with the giant wolf's defeat that they prepare a feast, even though the village is nearly broke. Golnova, however, hates this peasant food, and orders Kurt to prepare a decent meal for him instead. Bandana asks him to prepare something special, since today is the last day they will eat Kurt's cooking. Kurt asks Golnova for an explanation, who tells him that he is fired as of today. The boy does not understand why he is being fired and asks if he has done something wrong. Golnova says that the problem is that Kurt only does chores for them, but otherwise he is completely useless in combat, and groups can only have 4 members. So if they want to make their group stronger, they need to replace the pathetic wimp with a powerful mage, or at least someone who knows how to fight. Kurt begs to be allowed to stay in the group, but Golnova kicks him, tired of listening to this loser's whining. The next day, Kurt leaves the village with nowhere to go and an empty wallet. Eventually, Kurt arrives in a city and has only a few pennies left, so he really needs to find a new job soon. The boy finds an employment agency and is greeted by the receptionist. Kurt tells her that he is here to look for a job, but she tells him that he has to go through an interview and an aptitude test first. The girl asks him for basic information like his name, age, and hometown. He tells her that his name is Kurt Rockins, that he is 15 years old, and that he comes from a small village in the Sheen Mountains. Kurt tells her that he used to be part of the Fiery Dragon Fang team, but that he only did routine work for them and was recently fired. She is surprised to hear that he was part of the S-Rank group, and although he did not do much for them, having the group's name on his resume will certainly help him find a new job. Kerschel wants to understand what his strengths and weaknesses are. In this world, people are given gifts from God, and if Kurt is lucky, he may discover a hidden talent. Aptitudes are graded from G to S, and the difference between aptitude levels is so great that someone with a G-level swordsmanship would barely be able to wield a sword, unlike someone with an A-level swordsmanship. Kurt is excited to find out if he has a talent, but unfortunately, every single one of his fighting skills is graded as G, so he has no hope of getting a fighting role. Kurt immediately loses all hope, but Kerschel tells him that there is still a chance that he has good skills in a trade such as alchemy or blacksmithing. Unfortunately, the technician in charge of these aptitude tests is on vacation, so Kurt will have to return next week to be evaluated. The boy, however, tells her that he will not be able to wait that long because he is one step away from being destitute, so he really needs to find a job today. Kerschel understands Kurt's situation and asks him to try to lift one of those sandbags over there. Kurt tries, and when he puts his hands on the sack, he feels a strange sensation, almost as if the sack has drained some of his mana. He lifts the sack though, and since he is strong enough to do so, Kerschel thinks he should be able to handle the construction work. She tells him that they are currently hiring workers to repair the city walls, so Kurt should be able to get a job there if she writes him a letter of recommendation. Kurt is grateful for her help and goes to see the foreman immediately. The foreman sees the letter and says that Kurt wants to work here, but honestly, he doesn't think the man can handle construction work. But on the other hand, he needs all the hands he can get. He tells him to mix some cement and use it to repair the wall, and his pay will be determined by the amount of work the boy does. Kurt wants to ask a question because the man never mentioned adding mana to the cement to make it stronger, but he decides to keep quiet because it is probably common knowledge. When the foreman returns, he is shocked to see that Kurt has already finished an entire section of the wall. Kurt apologizes to him because he could have done more, but he ran out of concrete. The man still cannot believe that Kurt actually repaired more than a third of the huge wall, so he asks the boy how he managed to repair the top of the wall. Kurt explains that he simply threw the concrete and used a stick to smooth it down. The man asks Kurt how long he plans to work here, and the boy says he only needs the job for a week. The foreman is happy to hear this and tells Kurt that he has done enough work for today, but he does not have enough money to pay Kurt for all the work he has done, so he gives him a small bag of money and promises to send him the rest through the agency. Kurt is amazed because even the small bag contains more money than he could ever have earned working for the hero group. Over the next few days, Kurt continues to work hard to repair the wall, but suddenly the construction manager tells him that he has been fired. Kurt asks why, and the foreman explains that the wall repairs were supposed to provide work for people in need, but Kurt is too efficient, and if he continues to work here, there will be no work for anyone else. The man says that Kurt's skills are at least SS level, if not SSS, so he would be better off working in the royal capital or something like that. He gives Kurt a sum of money as compensation for being fired so suddenly and leaves. Kurt completely misunderstands the situation and thinks that the foreman just wanted to get rid of him because he is a bad worker. The boy returns to the agency and meets Kerschel to tell her that he has been fired. Just then they hear a commotion at the front desk, and it seems that a girl is trying to put up an ad to hire someone, but the receptionist tells her that no one would accept to work in such terrible conditions for what she is offering. Nevertheless, the girl insists that the receptionist should try to find someone. Kerschel approaches to see what the problem is. Kerschel's colleague tells her that this girl wants to hire a miner to dig up an unexplored mountain, but she refuses to pay up front and insists on paying only if the digging is successful. Kerschel agrees that no one in their right mind would ever agree to such terms, so she tries to convince the girl to hire investors to develop the mine, but the girl says she cannot do that, because if she does not pay the fees by the end of the week, she will have her mining concession taken away. Just then, Kurt approaches and says he is crazy enough to take such a job. He used to help dig the mine in his village, so he has a lot of experience. The girl interrupts him, saying that she was actually hoping to hire a grumpy dwarf, not a helpless-looking boy. However, any dwarf would require an upfront payment of at least 10 silvers, and the girl does not have that much money to spend, so she decides to take Kurt. As Kurt and the girl leave, Kerschel feels guilty for making him take the job, since it is probably not worth it. She thinks Kurt would be better off working in a brothel because she would pay a lot of money to spend the night with him. Her co-worker catches her eye and tells her that a transfer has just arrived. Apparently, it is the remaining money that the site manager promised to send to compensate Kurt for all the work he did on the wall, and Kerschel was expecting something like 50 silver coins. But it is actually a check for 200 gold coins. She is so shocked that Kurt has managed to make so much money that she accidentally trips over the sandbags on the floor. Her co-worker approaches her and tells her to be careful, as these are not ordinary sandbags, but are actually used to measure the amount of mana a person has, and are supposed to get heavier when touched by someone with a large mana reserve. They usually do not react to normal people, so Kerschel is able to pick them up quite easily, but she remembers seeing Kurt in trouble a few days ago, so she begins to wonder if he is really a normal guy. Meanwhile, Kurt and Ulysses walk through the forest to get to his campsite, but when they get there, Kurt is a little worried because there is only one tent there. Ulysses says the tent is big enough for them to sleep in together, but Kurt says he could never fall asleep next to a nice girl like her. It has been so long since anyone has cooked for Kurt that he appreciates it and is also grateful that Ulysses is sitting down to eat with him, since Golnova and the others in the hero group always refuse to let Kurt eat in the same room with them. Later that night, Kurt and Ulysses go to bed, but Kurt has trouble sleeping because Ulysses went to bed in her underwear. He decides to leave the tent for the night and sleep outside. As soon as Kurt leaves the tent, Ulysses opens her eyes because she was only pretending to fall asleep. She intentionally went to bed in her underwear to see if Kurt was a pervert, but now she knows he is a good guy. The next morning, Ulysses finds Kurt sleeping near a tree, and she feels a little guilty about letting him sleep here, but then she notices that his jacket has been repaired. Kurt wakes up and she asks him if he was the one who fixed her jacket, and he confirms it. She is impressed by his talent for sewing and begins to wonder if he is really good at digging, but it is too late to find someone else, so she better get to work. Kurt asks the girl if she has chosen a place to start digging, but she wants to dig in random places and pray to find valuable minerals. Kurt tells her that she will never find anything if she keeps looking like that, and that he knows a much more efficient way. He takes Ulysses to a part of the mountain, and after some digging, he finds a rock full of valuable gems. If she sells all these gems, she will be able to pay off her debt, but Kurt tells her that she cannot sell them. Kurt tells her that the gems will be more valuable if she turns them into magic crystals first. However, Ulysses says that there are only 10 mages in the whole kingdom who are skilled enough to turn gems into magic crystals, but Kurt has just finished turning a gem into a magic crystal. Ulysses is too stunned. After Kurt finishes turning all the gems into crystals, he agrees to let Ulysses go and sell them, so she leaves while he stays on the mountain because he has some things he wants to finish before he leaves. Ulysses goes to the city's customs office and tells them that she wants to sell some magic crystals in the royal capital, but the magic crystals are incredibly valuable, so the man asks her where she got them. The man would never believe her if she told him that some ordinary guy made them, so she shows him her royal family emblem to make him stop asking questions. However, the man does not know that she stopped working for the royal family some time ago, and they simply forgot to take the emblem off her. The man allows her to use the teleportation circle to get to the capital, and once there, she goes to a friend's shop and tells Mimiko that she has magic gems to sell. After careful inspection, Mimiko discovers that the gems have 10 times the normal amount of mana infused into them, making these crystals worth 10 gold coins each. Ulysses is speechless because Kurt gave her 50, so Mimiko hands her a bag containing 500 gold coins. But before Ulysses leaves, Mimiko has 2 requests. First, she wants Ulysses to promise to sell such crystals only in her shop, because it would be a disaster if such powerful crystals could circulate without rules. And second, she wants to know the name of the person who created the crystals. Ulysses agrees to the first condition, but says she cannot tell Mimiko the name of the creator of the crystals because she would have to ask his permission first. Mimiko is a court magician for the royal family, so she tries to use her position to order Ulysses to reveal the information about the mysterious magician, but the girl no longer works for the royal family, so she is not obliged to obey. Mimiko realizes that she will not be able to convince Ulysses to give up her information, so she asks her to at least make sure that the mysterious wizard does not go to another nation. She also wants Ulysses to tell him to agree to work for the royal family. Mimiko is willing to grant him the title of Count and full access to the Royal Research Lab and all its perks. Shortly thereafter, Ulysses leaves Mimiko's shop and returns to the mountain the next morning to meet Kurt, but is shocked to discover that Kurt has built an entire house. That is the end of the first episode. Subscribe so you don't miss the next installment.